how to practice programming for beginners. In this video, I'm gonna share a conversation that I had with one of my students recently, where we talked about exactly this topic. What would you do if you would be a beginner, and how you would practice to become better? And in summary, we're gonna talk about how to ask questions as a beginner, how to solve problems on your own, and is it good or bad to solve problems on your own as a beginner, and how to turn your brain on and actually make yourself focus on tasks and solve problems. Also, I'm going to give you some tips on how to approach difficult situations as a beginner and how to seek out for help. And on top of that, also I'm going to share one important book and one important concept that is crucial for beginners to understand to become better in programming. So let's get into the video and talk about these topics.
I'm happy as well because at least you will be able to help me because I am a bit lost.
Yeah, that happens a lot with coding, but I wanted to ask you this. How did you feel when you were trying to fix something? Is it exciting for you to try to, even if it's not working out, is it exciting for you to do that? Why didn't you just stop?
I see it as a game. So it's I want to get the result. It's I want to finish the game right now. That's why I want to keep on doing it. That's why I don't stop. And there must be something that I'm doing that is wrong. And I'm pretty sure that the answer will be very simple. That's why I kept on going a lot, because I know that I tend to complicate myself a lot. And I think that right now I am complicating myself a lot. And I think that maybe the answer is not that complicated. That's why I just kept on going. But I think that it made it even worse, to be honest, because right now it's I see it and I don't know, compared to what I was expecting to do, it's a lot. Honestly, I think that maybe it would be better if I just share my screen.
Yeah, go for it. I was about to ask you, can you share your screen? But I still want to talk about this a bit, because it's good that you have this excitement, and even if you make mistakes, you want to fix them. But I think you still cannot see this point where you should stop, or maybe you should ask for help, or maybe that's why you keep going. Because this excitement and wanting to finish things, I have the same thing, and that's maybe it's harder to tell when to stop in the beginning, because it's like you said, seems so simple. It must be simple. So maybe that's why. And just over time you'll get used to that, and you'll notice when to take a break or when to stop and maybe come back to it after a while. But on the other side, the fact that you are trying to fix things by yourself and trying to at least do something, getting frustrated and keeping up until 1 a.m. and doing things, that's a good sign. And I would say if you will approach things in this way, you will get far.
You won't get far, you said.
I mean, you will get far.
Oh, you will. Okay.
Because it's you're trying to do things, you're trying to solve the problems that you have. Sometimes it's a difficult thing to say, because I remember last time I said you need to sometimes take breaks, but on the other side is that you need also to fix things and you need to move forward. And if you would just take breaks every time you get stuck somewhere, you're not gonna get anywhere. It's not one thing, it's you find the balance, but finding this balance takes time and experience. That's what I mean.
If I didn't ask for help yesterday at night, was because as well I was aware that today we had a call. So
yeah.
I was thinking, okay, well, this is the way that I usually do it. If I really cannot find the solution to it, then of course I'll reach out. And when I was I don't know, I think that I finished around 12:30, 12:40 yesterday. And on my head I was I'm done. I'm asking for help. I can't do this anymore. I asked ChatGPT so many times, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Can you please almost explain to me? Because, okay, so let me just start.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Explaining
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just try to explain
Okay, so you explained a lot of things went on, you did a lot of things, a lot of things happened, and
Yes.
it's very difficult for me to tell you something out of all of this. Like, I understand you did a lot, and you have a bunch of problems and bunch of questions and a bunch of confusion because you're doing that for the first time, and it's okay. But for me, when I'm looking at any task or any problem or any question, it should be like point by point. And when it comes to tests like these, you should also in your head or on paper or in your notes somehow separate things.
All right, so that's pretty much the context that I had with one of my students. It dives right into this idea of focusing on one thing and this concept about one thing and one thing only. So what happened on the call was that the student was trying to explain like a bunch of things and a bunch of problems, a bunch of questions at the same time, all of them together in one large sentence and throwing that onto me. And that's pretty much what you're doing when you're coding as a beginner. You're trying to solve many problems at the same time, and you have many questions at the same time, and you keep on stumbling into new problems without solving your previous problems. And that's the biggest mistake that you're making. And what this book is talking about is how to focus on one thing, how to identify the single most important aspect of learning software development, Python, and just mastering that one thing. And that one thing can be many things over longer periods of time. But in the beginning, when you start out in software development with Python, that one thing is going to be for you to set up Python environment, for you to learn Python fundamentals. You don't jump into building a project without learning fundamentals. You switch between one thing and you only change to another one thing after you master the first one. And this will cause a domino-like effect. If you focus intensively on mastering Python, and you actually do that, you master Python, and you know how to use Python, other languages, other skill sets will be way easier for you to acquire. But if you've never mastered this one thing that you start with, you're just going to get average results and you're not going to really make any progress. And this approach, this requires discipline, which means that you need to also change your habits and how you approach software development and coding. You need to build up successful habits. Are you coding daily or are you slacking off and doing some other stuff? And pretty much the main idea from this book that you can take is, what's the one thing that you can focus on today that will help you learn software development later or achieve this goal of becoming a software developer later? You need to find this one thing that you can focus on, that if you will solve this one thing, everything else will fall into the place. For example, what I suggest for my mentorship students to do, and what I used to do myself, is the one thing that you need to do is you need to have the ability to build real world projects, and you need to have the ability to build real features of a project so that you can prove to yourself and employers or potential freelancing clients that you have the skill set to build real world features and real world projects. Nothing else really matters. You can learn fundamentals as much as you want. You can solve complex exercises, algorithms online as much as you want. But if you don't know how to build real features and real projects, nothing else will really matter. Pretty much in any situation in software development, if you apply this concept of focusing on one thing, you will get extraordinary results. But you just have to remember that you have to have the discipline to do that.
So, in my mind, the first test that I would like to do is, how can I validate question one text? So, where did you start? Can you tell me the starting point? Where did you started with, like, what was the first test that you did? Let's start from there.
So yeah, this is where we started dive into the problem and find where is the issue. And pretty much, as you can see, the process is as follows. You find one thing and focus on that one thing until you solve that. If all of this software development related stuff seems too difficult to you and you don't even know where to start, you can find my contact details below this video and reach out to me for guidance or mentorship.